Hey, everybody. Welcome back to State College's Quaker Steak and Lube, a great spot here in Happy Valley for wings, sports, beer, and good times.
It's warm.
It is warm in contrast to the outside. This is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show, bringing you the best in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Penn State sports from the heart of Happy Valley every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. Obviously, I'm not the Ironhead. If you are even a casual viewer / listener of this show, you know who I am. I'm
get your name on
Chris
moniker.
Buchanani. Technical difficulties. I'm going to press through those. I am joined by Keith Goon Conlon, the regular on the show. And the Ironhead is once again on the road, prepping for what I think is fair to describe as the most anticipated college wrestling match, dual meet, in the last at least 5 years, I think. Penn State, Iowa.
I can agree with that. I can definitely be on board with that. I mean, it's just these two have been lining up for how long?
For years.
For years, waiting to get to this point again. It's like every time these guys meet, it's the battle of, these are the two top elite programs in the country, and it's just fantastic to get involved and watch and stuff like that. And even if you're not a wrestling fan, this is as high a wrestling as you're going to see outside of the NCAAs. I would highly recommend watching it. It's on Big Ten Network, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. It's going to be freaking awesome. I mean, we are definitely the favorite. I think that Iowa's a little bit down this year with the injuries they're going through right now. But this is the defending national champion, and they've had a little stick in their booty hole since the NCAA finals last year when we crowned four natties. We won 4-0 in that, but they won the national title. But we sort of took the a little helium out of their balloon,
also,
air out of their balloon.
Nittany Lions wrestlers won every head-to-head matchup with Iowa Hawkeye wrestlers in the tournament, including in the finals. Yeah, look, there is, and not totally unearned sense of ownership and entitlement of the sport of college wrestling out there. And I think there is a whole lot of resentment, kind of blue bloods versus the nouveau riche,
no doubt about it.
Penn State coming in and winning all these titles. And I think there is frustration on the part of Iowa fans that they had been building up to a chance to take Cale Sanderson's Penn State on head-to-head and win. And then because of a combination of sort of the goofiness of the way Big Ten scheduling works and COVID-19, we've been waiting to see this team at its peak versus Penn State for 3 years now, and it finally arrives, and there are these injuries. But
Iowa's not at their peak, while we are right now.
Well, Ironhead and I talked about that on Tuesday, and I asked him, has the burden of expectations flipped in this matchup since the preseason? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And in many ways, with Iowa wrestling in their building in front of their fans and the environment they have, that's maybe not a bad thing from their perspective to kind of come in as the chip on the shoulder underdog versus all the expectation being on them and Penn State playing with house money.
I'm trying to think of who would it be comparable to, and that is this say who has the most national titles outside of Alabama? Maybe USC, like the 70s and the 90s or the 2000s when they were dominating. Okay. And that's what Iowa was for decades, when they won 26 Big Ten titles and 20 national title type of thing. So they were on that pedestal for decades. And then Cale came into Penn State. I mean, we've been in the Big Ten wrestling since 92, but Cale came in about 7, 8, 9 era, maybe earlier, maybe later, 10. But he has taken that mantle from them as the program and as the coach. So there's definitely big time.
There's a lot of bad blood there too, because so Cale's he's an Iowa State guy.
Guy, first of all. They're Iowa, and they're
and how dare you come in here and start winning in this sport? And don't forget too that a familiarity breeds contempt, right? And wrestling as a sport has geographic pockets of incredibly intense fandom. They're isolated.
Yes, sir.
But when you find one, you can drill really deep. You and I have talked about the possibility that the most passionate segment of the Penn State fan base for how intense people are about football is actually wrestling.
No
Yeah.
doubt about it. It's so territorial.
Intense. And so I think that the fact that it's not just an interloper, it's not just being led by an Iowa State Cyclone, but it's coming from another one of these hotbeds. The fact that it's a Pennsylvania program, I think it just sticks in their craw.
And the fact that their top 5 guys are from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now the fact that they're going to our state now and taking wrestlers out of our state and bringing them to Iowa, that's definitely in their crawl. The fact that they're not using Iowa kids to win national titles, they're actually using Pennsylvania kids.
Yeah.
Their top 5 guys last year, and they were the top 5 guys in the country, were all from Pennsylvania, which is just amazing. Just the hotbed that we are in the recruiting, we're in the world of the wrestling world, how good Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maryland, New York, and New Jersey are. This little embodiment up here of it's the best wrestling in the country. They don't want to hear that. That's the last thing I know people want to hear. And that was their baby for years upon years upon years. I mean, you got like an Illinois team. Okay, just take Illinois as a whole. They're a basketball school.
Yes.
They're willing to go out and get the crap kicked out of them in football as long as they're good and competitive in basketball. Indiana's the same way. For Iowa, they were the wrestling gods for a good 3 or 4 decades.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was the Iowa State, Oklahoma State eras and this and that, but Gable took them to the next level, which we're at right now. What's Caleb? 7, 8 national titles, something like that, and it's still 20 behind what Dan Gable had. But what he's trekking right now is he has the ability to go that far, and I don't think they like it. The fact that anybody can say they don't like Cael Sanderson, it just amazes me, because there's nothing but good for society.
Well, okay, so there's two. There's like
that,
I always
right?
talk about this. There's like there's hate and sports hate, right? Yeah. And if you sports hate someone, the odds are actually probably unusually high that deep down inside you respect them, right?
Yeah, case in point, I hate St. Joe's Prep. That's our high school rival. Some of my best friends are from St. Joe's Prep. Mm-hmm. We're very similar, but in the same aspect, we're all different. At the time, we're big rivals and yada, yada, yada. But when it comes down to it, Iowa and Penn State's fan bases are probably very, very similar. They're
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you hate them, and like you said, sports hate. I mean,
Now again, I always up till this past football season, I always, disliked Iowa and resented the many times Iowa football has screwed up Penn State football seasons. But I respected Kirk Ferentz, and I had no great disdain for Iowa's fans. The aftermath of this year's football game really did change my opinion of them. And, I've told this story on this show before when we've talked about Penn State Iowa wrestling. It was pre-pandemic, so this would have been the 2019 season. So the last time Penn State had a road trip for football out there prior to this year. So 2019, we sent a videographer out there, just document the team, the Penn State fans on the road and stuff like that. And it was, mostly the Iowa fans just totally ignored him. And the only smack talk he got wasn't about football. It was about some drunk walked by and he's like, "We're going to kick your ass in wrestling." It was September. And those guys were already thinking about
this ain't gonna happen in March.
Penn State, Iowa wrestling. So it's different out there. This is going to be must-see TV, 9 p.m., Big Ten Network, the Penn State Sports Network, either on your local radio affiliate or go psusports.com. Yep. You can hear the Ironhead. Nobody does it better.
The boy gets a lot of love in the wrestling world, doesn't he?
He's earned it. He's been at it a long time, right?
Him.
He's going to try to jump in, by the way. Ironhead.
It's so fun talking with Ironhead. I mean, I don't think I don't realize how good of a wealth of information he is when it comes to because I'm as base of wrestling as you get. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's
I've never been a big wrestling fan. I never did it in my life. And that's another thing I think that people have. Like when you play college football, you have this you play college football too, you get it. You know what I mean? Where I think a lot of these wrestlers, it's a culture. It's like lacrosse and soccer.
Yeah, yeah.
But wrestling culture is like there's this ultimate what's up, how you doing, chin up, when they see the cauliflower ears and stuff like that, because they know what you were doing. You know what I mean? And
right.
that's why it's because, especially this area, everybody here grew up wrestling. In the outlying areas of here, it's like the main sport, and it still is the main sport, and there's still a lot of guys. And a lot of guys are coming out of school from a lot of these small schools around here, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a small high school. We didn't offer a lot of varsity sports, but we were wrestling, and we were good. Like one of my
Lehigh Valley, of course.
Yeah, one of my classmates he got a full ride to Slippery Rock. I mean, not quite Penn State level, but still really good. And yeah, I
tell you, a guy from Penn State will see your buddy from Slippery Rock and see his ears again.
Yeah, so, absolutely, like no doubt.
So no doubt. People, offensive linemen, see other fat offensive linemen. It's like it's like a turkey nod. It's like you like the chins wiggle when you see each other. Are you doing?
So it's going to be interesting. I was giving Ironhead a hard time on Tuesday because I said, you're a hell of a salesman. You had Goon and I totally on pins and needles going into that Michigan match. We're like, oh my God, Ironhead built these guys up. I
was telling everybody. I was like,
oh, look out. Look out. Yeah. I told him, I was like, listen to Joe talk about Temple at his press conferences, be careful. They got a lot of good athletes.
Colin's got a toe. He's got 10 of them, but hey, whatever.
So I do think this is going to be a battle, though, man. I like the pride and the talent on that squad playing in front of their home fans, and for how long they've all been waiting for this. As much confidence as I have in the talent and the coaching for Penn State, it is not going to floor me if Iowa finds a way to pull this one out. And so it's going to be good.
Woke up today and I was
looking forward to it.
And I'm like, if that happens, it happens.
Yeah. If he dies, he dies.
The Big Ten title, but if we don't win the Big Ten title, I'll take definitely to win the national.
Yes,
I mean,
that's what it matters.
That's what it matters.
Yep, get your guys geared up for March.
It's like Michigan in the '80s. Oh, we got to win the Big Ten title. We go to the Rose Bowl and get splattered. It's like, what the hell's the point of going then? Oh, well,
or the playoffs now.
Oh, we went to the playoff. You got your asses kicked. I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, but yeah, he had me thinking, oh my God. This might be the changing of the guard. Michigan, they have all these transfers came in, and they're Ironheads that they're saying they're better than Iowa. Iowa's bad. Rest they're beat up, so they're definitely the biggest threat to Penn State. And I'm watching that match last week, and I'm like, man.
Well, and he did make the point. And I think it's fair that the final score looks incredibly lopsided, but if you break it down on a match by match basis,
kid getting hurt them
for sure. And there were turning points in several of those matches that maybe make it an entirely different, much closer outcome.
And
so
Michigan has not been in that situation in years.
Right.
So these players have never, these wrestlers have never been in that situation. So, bright lights, big city. You don't know how they're going to react. And Penn State, that was a regular Friday night for them.
That's very true. Very true. I mean, so Penn State, Iowa.
You're right. You're right. Ironhead did sell us pretty good on that.
9 p.m. BTN. If Ironhead can get to a reliable internet hotspot out there in Iowa City, highly questionable. He is going to join us, so we'll see.
The 7 picks that was just thrown on the field at Ironhead.
But if not, do either catch it on TV, or if you can't, the best way to experience Penn State wrestling is to listen in. Have the Ironhead bring you all the action. Again, go psusports.com. You can find your local radio affiliate. You can stream it. This is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are coming to you from State College's Quaker Steak and Lube. I'm Chris Buchanani. It's Keith the Goon Conlon. Appreciate all of y'all being with us. So, Goon, I'm going to totally shift gears. We'll talk NFL championship, conference championship weekend here in the second half of the show. But I also wanted to pick your brain a little bit about the rumors that are gaining steam. I had been hearing rumblings about this going all the way back to August when the Alliance talks started up with the Pac-12, ACC, Big Ten. The rumors that the Big Ten is going to look at shifting back to an 8-game conference schedule, which would open up room for inter-alliance non-conference games. So games against at least Pac-12 and ACC opponents, potentially also even some Big 12 teams. But what we know right now, Big 10, ACC, Pac-12. And as part of that package deal, they would eliminate divisions. So I've got some specific questions.
I have one question for you right off
go
the
ahead.
bat.
Yeah, go for it.
Now, are we talking about a 12-game schedule with the first 4 being ACC and Pac-12, or intermingled amongst the season? Because
not necessarily.
Would that not be freaking fantastic to play Pitt on Thanksgiving weekend again? They don't have a rival that weekend. Or do you want to keep it in?
I don't want to do the should we play Pitt every year conversation. Look, so do I. It's not going to happen. And one thing I have learned.
Thanksgiving finally.
Listen, I have done that 4-year run of us playing Pitt. When we went on the road to alumni chapters, on social media, on TV, on podcast, on radio, I must have done the should we play Pitt every year deal from every angle, in every venue, a dozen times or more. And I've been very consistent after, the first year we did it. Second year, I'm sorry. By the second year, Brandon, Mailman, and Kevin were all in the yes column, and I was in the no. And they kind of converted me. So I've argued that side of it, and I have come to the pretty ironclad conclusion that I am in the minority among Penn State fans. Our fans don't want it. Our fans do not want one slot on the schedule occupied by Pitt every season. I'm with you. You don't have to change my mind. Because you just don't care anymore. It's been so long since that rivalry has been meaningful.
Well, what the hell do we have now? I'm going to play devil's advocate right now.
Okay, sure.
What have we done in the last 2 or 3 years? Nothing. Why not get something back and get a rivalry going?
Well, no, but the answer to that, and again, maybe it's a little bit different. It definitely changes with 8 versus 9 conference games.
Gotcha.
But the answer you'll get back is to say, number one, they don't want it. Because there's no in their minds there's no history.
Who?
The majority of our fans. The majority of Penn State fans now don't view there as being a history between those two programs. Because look, most Penn State football fans are made one of two ways. Students come here and enroll at Penn State, and then they and their families become fans. So for them, Penn State football starts at whatever year they enroll, and maybe they know a little bit from the year or two prior. And then kids, right, getting into it. Either way, the math says that the majority of fans don't know the history of the rivalry. So that's number one. There's no bad blood there. To them, it's just whatever.
There wasn't bad blood when I was playing.
What's that?
It wasn't bad when I played.
Exactly my point. So that's number one. Number two is that it is high risk, low reward for Penn State. Penn State gets absolutely no credit for beating Pitt.
I think they do now.
No, I don't think that's true at all.
Defending ACC champions.
If Pitt can repeat,
I got you. If they can,
its level of success, if they can sustain something in the 8 to 10 wins per year range, maybe. As it stands right now, there is very little to be gained from beating Pitt. Look at the perception of the ACC because Pitt won the conference. It was totally written off. The ACC was totally disregarded from the playoff conversation. So there's very little to be gained and a lot to lose. And then, the other point is people would like to see more Penn State Auburn games. They would like to see more 2-off, or if you're James Franklin, 1-off matchups with top 25 programs from other parts of the country that they have not seen Penn State square off against on a regular basis.
Yeah, but you got to build a rivalry. So I have a scenario in my head,
okay,
here, Chris.
Go for it.
So we have our 8 that, they rotate around because, I believe when I was playing in the Big Ten, we played, it would have been 11 teams. So we played 8 games.
Correct.
8 games, and then 2 people were off of our schedule.
Yes.
So what if you have a natural rivalry that we create with Pitt? We play them on the annual basis, and we have an 8 or a SC or a Pac-12 team that we play on the regular, and then rotate the other 2 games around.
So I think that won't happen for 2 reasons. Number one, every team's got to be able to get 7 home games for revenue purposes. So you're talking about these decisions are going to be made by the top half of these 3 member conferences of this alliance.
Well, if you have Pitt and just say we play them in the Nike game, we play Oregon on an annual basis. We play Pitt and Oregon every year.
But what I'm saying
as
then,
our crossovers, and then there's other two that just randomize.
what I'm saying is the math is probably not going to work out. There are going to be there's going to be high demand for Oregon, USC, and maybe UCLA, and low demand for everyone else. So if Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State claim the top 3 prizes, then there's going to be
game.
People crying.
You're still rotating another game versus a Pac-12 and another.
Yeah, but you're going to take Oregon out of the equation for everyone else in the conference. 13 other schools.
They still have to play another Big Ten team.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean maybe, but look, the other point is all of these schools are going to want to play some cupcakes.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean,
so
you know who's going to suffer through this?
Who's that?
The MAC.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, look, I think at the most, you're going to see 2 of those 4 games filled with alliance opponents, and I think it's only going to be 1.
Oh, you think we're only going to play 1 of the Pac-12 ACC teams?
I do.
Yeah. I bet you.
Yeah, it could be 2. It could be 2. It could be 2.
Cahoots, man.
I do. I don't want to talk alliance too much, but I do like the idea of inter-alliance showcase games the first weekend of the season.
Sure.
Like Thursday to Saturday. I think that's fun.
Thursday to Monday. There's no NFL.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, okay. But to backtrack a little bit.
They're all spitballing, buddy. They're just spitballing.
I want to talk to you about 8 conference games versus 9. Gotcha. I had this conversation with a couple friends last night when this news started coming out. I think it was Chris Vanini from The Athletic who reported that this talk is becoming pretty serious. I mean, I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to impact the 2023 schedule, but it's still a rumor. There's still conversations happen. What do you think about 8 versus 9 conference games?
I'm okay with it, but just I like the fact that we play the same 6 schools every year. That's how our regular they rotate 2 other ones. I really do.
Well, okay. So first of all, let me just say, on going from 8 to 9 to begin with, I think if you are voluntarily doing something that makes your conference's teams' schedules harder that the SEC isn't doing, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Of course.
Like, that's self-inflicted injury and totally stupid. I think from a quality product perspective, the impulse of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten to have their members play 9 conference games, I think is good. I think you get higher quality football. You get better matchups. There's a lot of benefit to it from a fan's perspective, especially if you're just replacing that game with another like Maction type opponent. But if the SEC is only going to play 8 and they're going to have a construct where Alabama and Georgia play each other once every 20 years in the regular season or whatever it is, then you can't afford. Can't afford to give up ground, especially in a 4-team playoff era. So I don't care, frankly, if it's better. The question is it smarter? And I think the answer is definitively no, playing 9 conference games. So just for that reason alone, you want to go back to 8. I do like variety of opponents. I love the idea of seeing some Pac-12 teams come here and see Penn State go out there. Like, it would be fun to go to Colorado, right? That'd be a lot of fun. Right? Be fun to go up to the Pacific Northwest. I remember when Oregon State came here on that one-off game in 2008. It was cool to have some new fans, cool to see a different team. So I'm for that. I'm for going down to 8.
Shellacked them that game, and then they went
on
this 9-game winning streak.
They beat USC.
Remember that?
They made us look great.
Who was their running back?
Jaquiz Rogers.
Yep. God, you're like an idiot savant.
Emphasis on the idiot.
Yeah, very heavy idiot.
Okay. So
what would I like?
Getting rid of divisions.
If you're getting rid of divisions, what are you going to do?
Well, so the theory is that you keep the conference championship game. You would play 8 conference games, no divisions, like round robin scheduling, whatever. But you would take the 2 highest ranked teams from your conference, the Big 12 model. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, let me give you a factoid that I hadn't thought of. My buddy the Buzzsaw brought this up to me. It doesn't change my thinking, but man, it does make you pause. In that scenario, 2016 Penn State is frozen out of the conference championship game.
Okay. I can see it. I completely understand it. Yeah.
I mean, no doubt, at the end of that year, Penn State was one of the two best teams in the Big Ten, right?
No doubt.
But they don't, because I think Ohio State was like 5, 4, or 5. Wisconsin was 6, and Penn State was 8. So that would have been an Ohio State, Wisconsin Big Ten title game.
Because of the national ranking.
Because of the committee rankings. Yeah.
That's where we would go through the committee rankings?
Yeah, you would use the committee rankings.
What about head-to-head?
I mean, the conference could also choose to come up with its own tiebreaker system, but the cleanest solution I've seen thrown around is if you eliminate divisions, you just take the 2 highest ranked teams in your conference and pit them off.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah. We lose.
If he dies, he dies.
He dies. You're going to lose Michigan State. You're going to lose Ohio State, Michigan as your 3 big games a year.
Well, okay, so there's my next question. So there's a suggestion that maybe each team could protect up to, let's say, 3 rivalries.
In conference.
So you would have
division, or the divisions.
No divisions. Gone. Divisions are gone. So you would
John Lennon over here.
Imagine no divisions. It's easy if you try.
No religion either. But why? Again, you just made the reference to SEC and Alabama. Why would you sign up for take the 3 hardest teams on in Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State?
So that's the question. Yeah. If you could protect 3 games and rotate through opponents in the other 5, let's first say, which would you choose if you could pick any 3, ideally for Penn State? And then we'll talk about what you think they would be. Yeah.
I love playing Michigan. I love playing Ohio State. I love playing Wisconsin. I love playing Iowa.
Ooh.
And I love playing Illinois because I have friends from out there. Right, but that's like my 5. But, I mean, Iowa and Wisconsin have been some really, really, really good games, and I enjoy hanging out with those people.
Okay.
You got Ohio State, obviously, the border. I get it. Michigan, but it always upset me that they're never going to be our rival. We're never going to be Ohio State's rival, and we're never going to be Michigan's rival, ever.
Yep.
And they tried to push this Michigan State thing on us since 1993, and I can't stand it.
There's going to be sort of like low-key animosity between Penn State and Michigan State. Michigan State is never going to care more about beating Penn State than they do Michigan.
No.
Never.
No.
I have argued for a long time.
Now, Iowa, who you got? Who do they hate?
Nebraska, probably, but Nebraska's not been in the Big Ten that long. I mean, the Iowa fans are odd because they don't really hate anybody.
They hate us. And I have a theory on this, Booch.
So they do, but again, do we care about? Are we ever going to care about beating Iowa? So far away. You need some geographic.
No, man. I'm just sitting there, just in the parking lot.
All right,
in the parking lot. I got my idiot Eagle friends who come up here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you cook your rice today, and I'm like, just be nice to them and this and that, right?
Yeah, right.
In the parking lot,
right.
So. And I'm like, why would you make fun of them and be mad at Wisconsin or Iowa? Why would you be a dick to them? There's no reason. They're good people, this and that.
Right.
Then I go back to, we don't really have big rivalries with them, but losing to them, we're number 1 in the country out in that cold weather, really bad game.
I really don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about
games like 6-4.
Yeah.
So there is some animosity built up against Iowa already. And then you add in, no offense, the wrestling aspect to it. And there's definitely a little bit of a rivalry right there between Iowa and Penn State, football-wise. I think they've been some of our most competitive games, some of our most back-breaking games, and then we've broken their backs too.
Yeah.
McSorley throwing a late touchdown pass to Jawan Johnson and punting the ball on the 50. Yeah.
I think
there's your rivalry right there.
You're going to be hard-pressed to convince me that Wisconsin's not the better potential rival for Penn State. Yeah.
Well, they keep on hiring my teammates and my
Boy,
they hire my teammates' kids to play for them. Yeah.
Are you tracking this?
Bobby Ingram is the OC.
This low-key Caleb Williams to Wisconsin talk.
Jeez,
you following this at all?
I don't. No, I can't.
Well,
I just saw Penn State had a kid who came to Penn State for a year from Florida State in the transfer portal, and he's back in the transfer portal again.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate the transfer portal. I'd say you got one time. You got one time to use the transfer portal because you know what? You may have made a mistake. The coach may have left. This and that. You're not getting along with your teammates. This and that. You make a mistake. Okay. You can rectify it. Okay. You're a one get out of jail free card. You can transfer somewhere else.
We'll do transfer portal next time I'm on. Protected rivalries.
But yeah, don't you think? Understand what I'm saying, though?
So you have to pick 3.
Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan.
Okay.
But I do.
That's an interesting trio. So let me ask you this:
Michigan, just because it's Michigan, and everybody's going to want to play them. Indiana's going to want to play Michigan.
Well, that's going to be part of the problem. They're all going to be in demand, right?
They're not going to put 2 bell cows together, and we'll get Michigan State because they're going to try and push that on us. But they have to give us Ohio State, right? If they're going to give us one of the 2,
if
Ohio
you
State
could, let me ask you, be honest. If you could kind of make a strategic play to say, all right, look, I understand everybody is going to want to have Ohio State as their protected rival. It might not be the worst thing from a program building perspective to have them off the schedule every once in a while. Would you just say, like, hey, guys, you know what? No, we're good. We're good. We'll give up the Ohio State game.
We want Rutgers
twice a decade.
Northwestern. Hammer them.
Let's just isolate it. Would you give up playing Ohio State every year on the logic that it might help build your program?
No. I think that those games, the 115,000 people in the stadium, night game, whiteout, you're not going to get that with a Rutgers, Maryland, and you want it on a daily, every other year basis. I mean, I like how it's set up right now with we alternate Ohio State and Michigan every year.
Sure.
I really do. Because you're having one of those marquee teams come in here. As a former ticket holder, I would enjoy multiple games like last year. We had Michigan.
Former?
Yeah, I'm not renewing this year.
Really?
Nope.
End of an era?
Nope.
Wow. That's another conversation for another day.
Yep.
You have to pick one, Wolverines or Buckeyes.
I'm very upset with what the Penn State did and sent those letters out to those people.
That was preposterous.
And it was the final straw for me. Like, how are you involved? The story is that 460 season ticket holders were kicked out of the Nittany Lion Club because they sold their tickets predominantly online for secondhand sales. And I'm like, what does that matter? That's where I'm at.
I'll tell you what, I may, depending on how things go over the next couple of years, I may, sometimes just find myself not going to every game. And now I'm going to be looking over my shoulder every time. I'm like, do I just have to eat this ticket? Like, how many is too many? Right? It's just a terrible look. I don't want to get distracted with this.
That's what I do, man.
I know, squirrel. It's just an idiotically tone-deaf,
completely
antagonistic, unnecessary, unforced error that is so frustratingly typical of the way this athletic department relates to its customers. It really does bother me.
One of those people who was asked by Penn State in 2020 and 2021 to buy these tickets, even though there's a chance you may not be going. Okay, so what if I had COVID? Or what if I had I'm
not to mention
very,
that
I'm susceptible to COVID. That's where I'm looking for.
You've immunocompromised. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. So what if you were like that? Okay, and you spent the last 2 years because Penn State asked to keep the money for the donations. You did that, and then you sold your tickets. And then they're going to go online and they're going to go, okay, well, this person sold all of their tickets, and then they kick them out because they sold all their tickets. I mean, do you know that for a fact?
Not to mention, like, money's green. Who gives a damn?
And that's what I'm saying.
Like tickets cost X amount of
And
dollars.
Penn State got their
You
money.
got your money.
And
Yeah.
then, so Joe Schmo has these tickets, and he sells them on a secondary market. My opinion is, I think Penn State wants those tickets back to sell them on the second market. They want to sell them on the
They want to
secondary
be able. They want to be able to recoup the, the price escalator they put on the big games. You know what, guys? Like, don't outthink yourselves.
That's what they're doing.
You're out here clamoring to all of us that you need more money because we need more neon nonsense in the football building, or we'll never beat the worst team in the conference at home ever again.
7 over 9 over 10.
Yeah, it's just a bad look. Okay, so if I were going to pick my 3 rivalries to protect, it's 2 of the 3 teams I would pick is I would keep the season-ending game against Michigan State. Well, let me say this: I would keep Sparty. I would pick Wisconsin, and I would actually like to go back to the Legends and Leaders days and make that the season-ending game every year. Make Penn State, Wisconsin the last game of the regular season. I think that was so much fun for the short amount of time we did it. I think I would love to see that come back. And then,
could you imagine Wisconsin in late November?
Yeah, it'd be great.
To watch.
Whatever. It's Happy Valley in late November.
I know. I can sit out in my parking lot.
Big Ten weather. So I would say to the Big Ten, look, we're one of your bell cows. We are not taking Rutgers or Maryland.
Now,
get out of here with that.
Go back. You got to go back. Now, you want Wisconsin, but who does Wisconsin have as their big rival? Paul Bunyan's ex.
Yeah, right.
Minnesota. So they're not going to drop a 100-year rivalry. I'm just saying this because it's Ohio State, Michigan. And we're going to try.
Fine.
You got to figure out who their rivals are.
Sure.
And I think that like a team like Ohio State, they have a rivalry with Purdue, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
just recently,
no one at Ohio State cares about playing Purdue every year.
Okay, but do you think we care about playing Maryland and Rutgers?
Well, surely we don't.
But they're going to put them. They're going to make them.
That's my fear, that we're going to get stuck with Rutgers is what's going to happen if it goes that route.
Rutgers over Maryland. I think they would give us Maryland over Rutgers.
No, I think we'd get stuck with Rutgers.
Wow, really?
Yeah. The Big Ten always gives us the poop end of the stick.
Really? I didn't know that.
I know.
It's shocking. I didn't know that.
Well, there you have it. Watch for another schedule change, maybe as early as the 2023 season. Will the Big Ten stick with divisions? Will they go to 8 conference games? Will Penn State be stuck playing Rutgers and or Maryland every year?
Yes.
Who knows? Good off-season stuff.
Because we begged for them to come into the league.
Exciting NFL championship weekend ahead. We're going to talk about it on the other side of the break. This is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. Stay with us.
Best 2 out of 3?
It's one fantastic ride. The turbocharged, tech-inspired new Kia Forte.
There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube. From live music to exciting new flavors, meet your friends and refuel at your local Quaker Steak and Lube today. Can't slow down? Then order online. Pick up and get back on the road. Find us at thelube.com.
He's not getting that car in there.
No, sir.
Hey, look at these 2 troublemakers.
Johnny, how are you?
Wicked car, is that new?
Yeah, it's a Sonata. Let me park it.
Oh, you're not fitting your car in there.
Chris, stop being a smarty pants, all right? Look who's got Smart Park. Even Bruiser can park it. Just hit the clicker. I can park it anywhere.
Beaver Stadium?
Parked it.
Even the Jordan Center?
Parked it.
Even Medler Field?
Even Bruiser parked it.
Hey, you can't park there.
He's got Smart Park!
Wicked smart.
Blaze Alexander Hyundai. It's wicked smart.
Or 12 playoff. Oh, hey, we're back.
One team off.
We are still talking about this.
Scenario proposed by Goon.
What's that?
I just told you on the air, off the air.
Oh, to do 12 conference games?
Just go all 12 conference games. We're going to lose somebody. Well, that would be, well, we're not playing them. This is bull.
7 home games. That's the problem. You got to do 7 home games.
But then you got to realize this. Okay, well, obviously Penn State basketball has gotten the poop end of the stick this year because how many home games do they have on weekends this year? 2. Home. Everything else is during the week.
Yeah.
Someone's got to complain to the Big Ten about that. But we understand we're a bottom feeder in basketball, so people got to understand that, well, we used to not be a bottom feeder in football, but we're getting to that point right now.
Yeah, okay.
But
no more Penn State football talk.
Why? That's what we're talking about.
I don't want to get into the way we stink.
6 divisions. We got to play the Pac-12 North and the Big Ten West. That's the 2 we play. And rotate it around.
I actually wouldn't hate that.
But you'd have to go on a 2-year plan, right? Because you got to have a home and away.
I mean,
but then that screws up with the whole.
They could always just double the ticket prices, then they wouldn't have to worry about the 7th home game.
Don't give me any ideas.
Yeah.
But then if we have 7 games 1 year, then next year we're only going to have 6.
Correct.
So that's where we're going to. That's why.
That's where you run into the problem. That's the same problem when you're talking about how many of these alliance games are you going to schedule. You've got to the MAC's not going to get frozen out. You still got to have some joker teams come in every year.
I'm saying there's one ACC
just to get a paycheck.
You're going to go away to an ACC
and then
home
to
a Pac-12,
and then the other way around the next year. That's possible.
I mean, I like the way that Franklin has set up the schedule a little bit. We're rotating around. We're playing Syracuse. We're playing Temple. We're playing Pitt. We're playing West Virginia. We're playing Villanova. I think Delaware's on the schedule coming up, right?
Yep.
You got to keep that pimp hand strong around here, I guess.
Yeah, although that Delaware game is going to be a prime candidate to get axed if there's an alliance matchup to come up with. Maybe
that's 23 though.
Maybe we'll finally get that game that Virginia owes us.
Or Tech. UVA and Tech both screwed us.
Yeah, UVA more than Virginia Tech, though.
Well, we actually played a game at UVA.
Yeah,
I was there.
That really sticks in my craw.
I was there. I remember sitting there
thing.
before the game talking to Spider, and he goes, "Hey, man, we win this game, we're going to go to the Citrus Bowl." And they went and choked.
Oh, you're talking about 2001.
Midas picked up that fumble and ran it in and stuff like that, and they said no.
I thought you were talking about the Sam Ficken game at UVA.
Oh, geez, you're right.
Yeah, that was the one where they screwed us.
That was 12.
Yeah.
But did UVA play us after that Midas thing? Or was that a return game?
So we hold on. Let me think about this. So no. So the game you're thinking of was 2001 season, and it's true. That game decided bowl eligibility for that team, and it was scheduled on a Thursday night on the Virginia campus, but it was to be played the week following 9/11.
Yeah.
So it was rescheduled for the end of the season, and for some reason,
I was at UVA Stadium for it. I was living in Richmond at the time.
We threw the ball like 40 times in that game against like one of the most putrid run defenses in college football. I have no idea what was going on with the
This is the same game plan we played
day.
Auburn the year before in the Citrus Bowl, and they decided, let's try and outflank Auburn.
Yeah, crazy.
Let's not use Larry Johnson at the middle. Let's try and make him use his speed around the edge against an SEC team.
Yeah, it was following your Capital One Bowl.
Just going to throw that out there.
And the most frustrating thing about that, and then we'll talk about the NFL, to me, was that Franny actually took Larry off the field when we weren't going to run a run play. So it wasn't like you couldn't even use him as a decoy off play action. So anyway, that game, the final score of that game was like 10-7 or something.
The
It was so
game
frustrating.
I was at the 9/11 game.
Yes.
When was that kickback? Because we played UVA at home before I came here in 1989.
Yeah, well, they played at Penn State in 2000, where Shard Casey ate them up.
Okay, there we go.
So that was a totally self-contained home and home.
So the UVA,
it was the Sam Ficken 2012 road game that they were to have reciprocated, and then they never did. So they technically owe us a game.
And then Voltech got canceled in 2020.
Yes.
I wanted to go down there.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I was really disappointed about that. And it's been a near miss a few times that we could catch them in a bowl game. Something hasn't worked out. Like we would have played them in 2005, except Florida State upset them in the ACC title game. There have been a couple of times in the last few years where maybe we would have matched up. But I'll tell you what, with Brent Pry there now, it is going to be, I think, an attractive early inter-alliance matchup if they do
I got
shift
you.
the schedules around.
I have so you're like me on Twitter, and I followed Brent Pry and Tyler Bowen and all these guys.
Half my feed is like people taking jobs at Virginia Tech now. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? And like how they're out there. And I know the area down there, so I know the fan base and all. And it's a fantastic fan base.
Yeah, for sure.
Those guys are going to kill it down there. I mean, they're doing great. They're out and about. And it was pretty funny. I've noticed that all the coaches are like, hey, I'll be in Surrey County next week. What's a good place to eat? All the coaches. And it's like 40 people, 400 people are lining up. Go here, go there, go there. You got to make it a party. You let the people know that you're in town.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the problem about a school like Tech. Maybe their coaches weren't recruiting all of the high schools. And there's people who talk about that about Penn State right now. They're not recruiting all the high schools in Pennsylvania, and that they're just recruiting the big boys, and they're missing out on a lot of little stuff. So,
well, the window for Virginia Tech is wide open, I think. People don't appreciate, because their high water mark was losing that 99 title game with Vic versus Florida State. They have been one of the most consistent programs in college football over the last 25 years. They have a lot of top 10 finishes, a lot of double-digit win seasons. It's just that they have lost in key moments that kind of kept them off the stage when the most people were watching. So they've kind of flown under the radar. But yeah, all the fundamentals are there for them to be competitive, I think, very quickly. The talent's there, the resources and commitment from the institution is there, and the history. And as we talked about, the ACC is just sort of like a whole lot of mediocre pretenders.
Yep.
So, yeah. I like Brent Pry. I wish him nothing but the worst, because I do not want to see another serious contender to vacuum up that talent from the DMV, because that's been a lifeblood for Penn State for quite a while.
I agree.
Dating back to the Larry Johnson days. Okay, NFL Championship weekend. I think you and I both wish
and I
we were talking about the Buffalo Bills.
Show. I wasn't feeling well. But my Lord, I know you guys talked about it.
Yeah, no, let's talk about it a little bit.
Not unfreaking believable. The whole weekend.
Crazy. Awesome.
The whole weekend. Everything about it was just awesome.
I am heartbroken. Just truly, I am heartbroken for my friends who are Bills fans.
Yes.
I know you've got some friends in the organization.
Yes.
I mean, that's brutal.
Yeah, I sent a text out Monday morning, man. I was like, hey, man, Johnny, I said, unbelievable game. You're going to go down as being part of that game, but I know you're not happy about how it ended.
Now, I have heard a lot of people say, oh, don't worry. They'll be back.
So the same thing with Dan Marino in 84.
Now, I do think Buffalo's future is very bright.
So do I.
Clearly, Josh Allen is better than I thought he was. He's one of the elite quarterbacks now. We can say that comfortably.
Why weren't you on board?
I say all the time, if you don't have a top 12 guy, keep looking. I was not convinced he was a consistent top 12 guy.
I don't know. I guess I watched them a lot. You watch the Eagles or Steelers, right?
Let me put it here. Here's a great way for me to put it.
I'm a red zone guy.
I was not convinced that he was not Dante Culpepper.
Wow.
And that's not an insult. Dante Culpepper was one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a couple of years, but didn't have staying power. And so my suspicion was that Dante Culpepper was Josh Allen's ceiling. Wow. And I think he surpassed that.
I'm going to say that throwing to
look, I could lie
Randy
and say
Moss,
I didn't
Jake
think
Reed,
that.
Chris Carter is a little bit better than what Josh Allen's
no doubt.
right now.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, I'll freely admit I underestimated his talent.
Great. His arm we've known about that, but the fact that he's 6'5", 250 pounds, and just running
and
away from guys and shaking guys, dude, you don't do that. Like people will say the closest comparison to him is Ben Roethlisberger. I said Roethlisberger never had that kind of speed. He had some elusiveness in this and that, but once they started catching up and the hits started catching up to him, he lost that. But he never had that speed that Josh Allen has.
Well, and the Bills have already obviously invested more in protecting Josh Allen than the Steelers ever did with Ben Roethlisberger. They were very happy to let that guy get the crap beat out of him, because they correctly bet on, hey, we can cheap out on the O-line because this guy's tough enough
guy's
to
a
take these
mutant.
hits for over a decade. And they were right. But, I mean, God, when you've got that much of an investment in that position, to not put the time in to put a good line in front of them is a huge risk. So Buffalo, I think is moving in the right direction there. They're going to have some cap flexibility this offseason. And I love all the rumors that the Giants in the middle of a rebuild might be happy to ship Saquon Barkley off to the other conference. They are not going to sign him to another contract. He's a hand-in-glove fit with what the Bills need. Brings some star power. The fans there would love him. He could add some dynamism to that offense, and I just think it's a really good match. So I hope that trade happens.
Really, that's going to happen, huh?
I think here's what I think.
They could use him.
I think it is at this point
better than he has with the Giants, for God's sake.
Yeah, at this point, I think it is foolishness for the Giants not to move him. Now, the Giants as a franchise have specialized in foolishness for a decade, but look, they're not going to sign him to another contract. They have they stupidly took him with the second overall pick and then put zero resources into the offensive line. They've
just missed.
Well, fair. They made bad decisions. Very bad decisions. And a terrible decision at quarterback. Everything in terms of what you could have done to maximize the return on taking him number 2 overall, they did the opposite of that. So at this point, your whole franchise is a mess. They are way, way behind Philadelphia and Dallas, and probably also behind Washington. So it's just time to blow it up and start over.
People said that on draft night. Like, they warned them.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Saquon Barkley is a generational talent, but to go back to what we're talking about, out there has never listened to us, is you don't draft a running back that high. I mean, they're not a dime a dozen, but they're pretty cheap. I mean, just do what the Eagles have done, and that's having 3 or 4 guys making league minimum.
It's a tough thing, man, because the
hell out of them.
The very best running backs of the last generation have not led to a lot of playoff success for their teams.
Who's the best running back in the league right now?
I don't know. Some people would say Derrick Henry,
but I would say
or Jonathan Taylor. Okay, yeah.
They didn't make the playoffs.
Yep.
And they have a good offensive line.
The last consequential running back that was part of a Super Bowl champion was probably Marshall Faulk, like a franchise guy.
Yeah, they were doing stuff that everybody's doing now.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying, whether it's Ezekiel Elliott or Adrian Peterson or whomever, the team that has the bell cow back, that's not the team that goes to the Super Bowl. Yeah, so anyway, I think
he's the best offensive line in the league, making all that money, and they still can't get over that hump.
Yeah. So
I think have a guy like Pollard come in there making league minimum, who shows up as Ezekiel Elliott every friggin' week.
I think for all those reasons, it's a hand-in-glove fit. For all those reasons, they should get rid of Barkley and get draft resources for him. It's a hand-in-glove fit for the Bills. And it makes sense for the Giants because you're shipping him to the AFC. They're never going to see him. They're not going to have to play against him. I think it's a lot of good things in Buffalo's future.
New York taxes already, so.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's talk about the games that are going to be played. You want to start with the AFC or the NFC? What do you like?
Well, the NFC starts the day off. No, excuse me. The AFC does. Cincinnati at Kansas City. I think it's going to be an absolute mayhem out there.
Cincinnati is undefeated in AFC championship games.
At home.
No, they're undefeated. Well, I mean, yes, but they've only played in 2.
Okay, at home.
Well.
Yeah, that was their first away game with victory of all time in playoffs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The way Burrow's playing right now and the people he has is unbelievable, but the momentum that Kansas City has right now with what just went on this past Sunday, my Lord.
How can you pick against them?
I don't see, what was it, 8 weeks ago when I came on here and said, by the way, the new Super Bowl favorite, who is it? And I said, the leader in the clubhouse is Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. And that was mid-season. Everybody was like, what the hell does that mean? And they're like, oh, they were on like a couple games skid. And I'm like, no. I think Kansas City wins that game. And I think that Burrow is the next one. But Do you notice in that game, watching that game, he seems really fragile.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I mean, he took a hit, and I was like, and he's a hit away from blowing a knee out again.
Yeah, well, you mentioned you're a red zone guy. He's been taking those hits all season.
He took a beat the other day.
Yeah.
Kansas City will devour him.
Yeah.
If they put that offensive line up there again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
Lord,
I think, I mean, God bless Andy Reid, man. What a second act. I think he's going back to the Super Bowl. I really do. What are your crazy stat?
4 NFC championships and then 4 AFC championships in a row.
9 total. Amazing. Here's a crazy stat for you. Another reason why it's tough to pick against the Chiefs. ESPN win probability, which is kind of a dumb stat in my opinion, but it's a fun thing to look at those charts, especially if your team pulls one out. You can see what win probability they were at. Do you want to know? So Patrick Mahomes has played in 4 games in which the Chiefs' win probability has been at or below 5%.
I saw that. And he's won every one of them.
He's 3-1.
Oh, did lose one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's rather unbelievable what he's doing.
I mean, again, like win probability is like whatever. It's very hard to wrap your brain around. But when you're down 3 points with 13 seconds left, no one is looking at you and saying like, "Oh yeah, they have a good chance to win this one."
Hey, so what's your feeling, Squib?
I am not pro Squib.
I mean, if you squib it, the guy's going to fair catch it anyway, and there's going to be no time off the clock. And
you might remember
people
this.
just saying that, and I'm like, come on.
I talked about this on Tuesday. I think it was either 95 or 96. It was either a year Nebraska won the title or they were in contention for it. They were playing. It was like an old Big 12 opponent. It was either Missouri or Colorado. Had them down at the end of the game. It was a very similar situation to what happened with Buffalo and Kansas City. And the opponent, whoever it was, they squibbed it. And it was one of those moments, like the football's a weird shaped object. And it hit at like the Nebraska 40 and just bounced straight up in the air. And they ended up starting at damn near midfield because they didn't just kick it deep. This whole idea that you were going to run a bunch of time off the clock, like you said.
It doesn't start until they touch the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And if you coached your guys right, they're falling on the ball. Yeah, give yourself up. Yep. And so you potentially give up 15 yards of field position.
It was
right.
Either way, it was unbelievable what we saw on Sunday. I just don't see Cincinnati could not match Kansas City score for. I mean, I guess they could go score for score, but they would run out of steam, in my opinion. I think that Kansas City's D line is going to really, really, really affect Burrow.
Agreed.
And I think his comment about I've played in SEC stadiums are louder than NFL stadiums. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs fans are taking that to heart, and they're
Don't poke the bear, man.
And they're going to make it wild and crazy. I just hope I get to see a lot of videos of Mahomes' brother and fiance.
Really? Because I haven't seen any this week.
Oh, my God. You want to throw a beating on somebody? My Lord. I mean, that's just like someone's got to get a hold of that kid and say, dude, simmer down, man. Simmer the hell down. He
is, I think, on track to potentially end his career as the greatest quarterback in NFL history. He's that special. And he is like his brand is most closely associated with 2 of the most annoying human beings alive. Yep. It's pretty crazy.
And his fiance spraying people with champagne and like not giving any like, dude, you're not giving off a good image right now. Yeah, it's got to get fixed.
I mean, this is why I try to stay away from social media. I don't have to think about that stuff. I don't care about these guys' personal lives or who their siblings are or whatever, like the Roger Clinton of the NFL world. It's like whatever.
But they're forcing it. It's being forced upon us because that's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Well, I just look away. I look away. Okay.
Did you say George Clinton?
Not George Clinton. No.
Or Jimmy Carter, brother.
Yeah, Billy Beer.
Beer.
Yeah, I would never speak ill of George Clinton. Roger Clinton, on the other hand, is a totally different deal. All right, NFC. The last 18 Super Bowls have featured Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, or the San Francisco 49ers.
Who did Rodgers beat?
The Steelers.
That's right, because it was Roethlisberger. Damn,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm trying to think. Was Rodgers into that group? No. Who do I think is going to win? If that San Francisco team that showed up in Dallas and just beat the living tar out of the Cowboys, went into Lambeau and took a lot of body shots. They didn't do much on offense. There's no doubt in my mind they didn't do, but
neither did the most potent offense in the league, right?
Personally lost that game more so than the 49ers won that.
That's fair.
I mean, the special teams errors were just horrendous. And I'm just not a Rams fan. I just don't like how they carry themselves.
I don't like Sean McVay.
I just
not a fan.
Dude, I'm sick and tired of him being in the end zones and stuff like that. And like big plays, he's on the field. It's like, yo, little boy, get off the field. Did we talk about this? We're talking about McVay. We're talking about his age. How many NFL coaches
are younger than Tom Brady? What did we say, a dozen?
I know the answer.
I can't remember. We talked about it. I think it was 12, right?
13.
A baker's dozen.
A baker's dozen.
How many heart attacks is that for you? It's a baker's dozen.
Yeah. So I got the 49ers because I don't like the Rams at all. I think that defense is taking the Jalen Ramsey approach and just getting up and talking smack after every play. But my God, is that defensive line good?
Well,
if the 49ers have not fixed their right side issue, they're going to go do exactly what they did to Tom Brady last week. And that was just beat the living crap out of him.
Well, so as an Eagles fan,
sure,
and somebody who is hoping that the Philadelphia franchise is on its way up, I want to be like a crab in the bucket and pull the other ones down, right? So I'm looking at the Rams, and I know that they went all in from a salary cap perspective on winning, this year or next year.
Yep.
So am I more worried in terms of the overall conference picture about the Rams getting over or San Francisco? I'm rooting against the Rams.
I don't
like Sean
McVay. Odell Beckham Jr. winning.
Don't like the Rams. Don't like Odell.
He sits there and cries and cries and cries his way out of two crap organizations, and then now he's Mr. It's return to life and this and that. Were you playing as hard as you really could be
in Cleveland? Clearly not.
Come on, man.
Clearly not.
It's so bad.
And it's weird too because Cooper Kupp vacuums up receptions like few guys in the league, but there's for whatever reason you're hearing less complaining about Odell's targets in.
Tell you what,
LA.
Ryan Clark.
Now, maybe it's because he's winning. He's happy to be in LA and the team's winning. I don't know, but
Ryan Clark had a hell of a point today, and he was talking about why does our society only compare Cooper Kupp to white receivers? He goes, he's not Julian Edelman. He's not Wes Welker. He is Devontae Adams. He's Julio Jones.
Yeah, right.
He's not a white wide receiver. He is a great wide receiver. That's the people you should be comparing him to. And I was like, good for him. Finally, somebody.
It reminds you a lot of Fred Biletnikoff, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Or Ed McCaffrey.
A little Bambi out there.
So I do want to mention, we talked when I was in last week, Goon, about all the Penn Staters that were on rosters wild card weekend. So the NFC game, one of those two games, divisional games last weekend, how about if it were not for the ineptitude of Green Bay's special teams, allowing that blocked punt to tie the game, it wouldn't have been ageless wonder Penn State alum Robbie Gould who was the hero of that game. It would have been Penn State or Adrian Amos for making the pick.
Making that pick.
Right. So then you go over to the other NFC game and their opponent in the NFC title game, Nick Scott made a crazy athletic play on a ball to pick off Tom Brady in that game.
So for those who don't know, we talked about it at my house the other day, and that is that Nick Scott was really, really, really big time involved with Fawn and the Nittany Nation on the Facebook page and stuff like that. He was very, very big into that, and I actually had a dinner with him one time, and I could not. I remember I told my wife, I said, "Do you know who that kid is?" And she couldn't believe it. She goes, "Oh my God, that kid was such a nice kid, well spoken."
Oh yeah,
and all that
Nick
stuff.
Scott's a good dude.
You absolutely love everything that happens good for that kid because he deserves everything he's getting. And he's playing well.
Very well.
I mean, killing it. I mean, that's like he's playing so well. That's
7th round pick.
playing himself into a nice little contract coming up, much like Adrian Amos did with Chicago. I mean, he played himself into a pretty healthy contract with Green Bay. So, I love the games. This is our third year of doing the show, I believe, Booch, and that is that I consider Championship Sunday better than Super Bowl Sunday because you get two games.
Yep.
You can look forward to and talk about all week. You're not sitting there 2 weeks building up to, let's talk about so-and-so's worm ranch that he started when he was 7 years old. Oh, kickoff in 922 hours from now. You know what I mean? It's like, geez. So I love
commercials and prop bets. That doesn't get you excited.
So I just conference Sunday is my favorite Sunday of the year for football.
It is going to be damn tough to beat last week, though, man.
The NFL will figure it out.
I hope so.
Because the week before was pretty much a sort of a letdown, but then this week came in and it was just like, holy hell, man! And they are good matchups. They're pretty tight. I think there's a 3 and a 7 point spread. But I'm going to say it. I got to say it again. If that physicality that San Francisco plays with, if that shows up in LA on Sunday, I mean, the Rams could be in for a hell of a game. And the fact that they almost lost to the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that game was over in the third quarter. And the fact that they allowed the Buccaneers to come back scares me a little bit about the Rams.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you beat that team. You have to beat them up and bully them, and San Francisco's built to do that.
Yep.
They seem like they've got just some kind of crazy belief going on, and after what has been like a lights-out exciting NFL season, of course, we're going to get stuck with a San Francisco-Kansas City rematch in the Super Bowl, which is going to be all right. But
it's the 40-year anniversary
not
of
super
San
exciting.
Francisco and the Bengals.
Yeah.
The first one.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the John Candy game. This was the one.
No,
in
the
Detroit.
John Candy game was 88.
I always remember that game. I remember
that was Sam
that
Weish was the coach.
49ers.
Forrest Gregg was the Cincy coach in 81.
But you know how I remember that game? Because that's when Miami Vice was being advertised to come out. And it was like they were showing the vet driving, I can feel it coming, yeah. And I was like, this show sounds really freaking cool. It was like 83 or 84, right? And I got hooked on Miami Vice from that. I remember that Super Bowl big time.
Yeah.
And then it was the 49ers. They played the Redskins and the Dolphins were around that era too. So this is a 40-year anniversary. That was a good game. I remember Hacksaw Jim Reynolds was the middle linebacker for the 49ers.
I mean,
you were like 2.
Yeah, I don't remember that game. I'm aware of it, of course.
What's your first Super Bowl?
That I remember? 85. Bears versus Pats.
Mine was Vince Ferragamo leading the Rams to a loss versus the Steelers in 79-80 season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the first Super Bowl I remember because the next one was the Eagles. And we all remember that one.
Yeah.
All I remember that one was the Iran hostage crisis. Everybody was wearing the little yellow ribbons.
Kind of sad to say those were better days.
Yeah, right? By the way, did you hear we're getting a tax break on the military supplies we left in Afghanistan?
No, but that's great. Awesome.
Yep. I
Terrific.
want my money back. Hendrick, I want my money back.
So this was fun.
Who do you like?
I'm with you, actually. I think we're going to get the KC San Fran rematch.
KC San Fran. That's what I want. I don't.
I am very confident the Chiefs are going to win. I might be wishing into existence the San Francisco win, but
that was the title they won.
Yeah, there's something going on with San Fran. They're just putting everything together to come out of the NFC.
But I got to say this, Debo, who was absolutely an animal,
nicked up.
He got the living crap kicked out of him the other day. And It's been 2 weeks in a row. I mean, does he have another week in him to go through that? He was getting up slower and slower and slower and slower every play.
Yeah. But at least, I mean,
what a dynamic player he is.
He did all that in the worst weather conditions imaginable, so at least they're not going to have to deal with that. If this was being played in a cold weather environment, another Green Bay type situation, maybe I think differently.
Nick Scott with a pick in middle television.
So to wrap it up, I will say this. I'm with you. I enjoy Championship Sunday. It's always a little melancholy for me because I realize it's pretty much the end of football. But football has become a year-round thing. And if you're
so excited about drafting and you love it.
I was just going to say, if you're watching or listening to us, you are in all likelihood a Penn State fan and or Steelers-Eagles fan. One of those two. Not necessarily, but probably at least one of the three, maybe two or more. There are some people that don't view Pittsburgh Philly as a rivalry, at least not in football. But no matter what team you root for, this is going to be a really interesting offseason. Like super interesting for all three teams. Pittsburgh is going to be trying to figure out what to do at the quarterback position for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Philadelphia's got 3 first-round picks and a ton of cap space, which Howie will no doubt screw up, but at least we get to speculate on how he may or may not do that. And Penn State has really got to figure out how to get it together quickly to capitalize on all the momentum they have on the recruiting trail, which is not matched by the win-loss column. So we're going to have quite a lot to talk about from the football perspective for months and months to come. And then before you know it, it'll be time to start kicking off training camps in the summer.
Agreed.
Good stuff, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Again, Penn State, Iowa wrestling, the match of the century.
Baby.
9 p.m. on the Big Ten Network, or catch it on the Penn State Sports Network on the radio, or go psusports.com. The Ironhead bringing you the call of that consequential dual meet between the Hawkeyes and Nittany Lions. Yes, sir. I am Chris Buchanani. He is Keith Goon Conlon for the in absentia Jeff Ironhead Byers. We're wishing you all a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Take care.
The leap of faith. Some hesitate. But not you. You don't ask what if. You embrace what's next with open arms. You don't question your decision. You double down. Because you know the thrill is worth it. Introducing the 2022 Telluride Nightfall Edition.
There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube. From live music to exciting new flavors, meet your friends and refuel at your local Quaker Steak and Lube today. Can't slow down? Then order online. Pick up and get back on the road. Find us at thelube.com.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent ya?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tapper, and we say,
Tell him Johnny sent you.
and remember,